Hello, welcome everybody to another First Gen Celebration podcast. We are celebrating our First Gen students. If you're listening to this, it's this week. Maybe you're listening to it later, but we are excited to have another guest. Kevin Johnson is with us. Kevin, welcome.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about what college you're in, what year you're in here at K-State, and sort of maybe something else that you're involved in.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a fifth year senior here studying geology and geography, and I'm also doing a certification in geographic information systems. I am in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I am also a 5-time member of the Kansas State University Marching Band. I also serve as the Tri Alpha, the First Generation Honor Society president. And so this is where I'm really excited to take part in this podcast as well as host the First Generation Celebration Week.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you have a few things going on, right? That's what when you first came in, you said like, "Whew, it's been a busy day today." So and I can
Indeed.
understand, but based on my conversations I've had today. You're definitely kind of that example, it seems like, of a first gen who came here and then just sort of took off in all the things that you're doing. So that's fantastic to hear. So we're going to jump into our questions here as far as first gen topic. What does that first gen identity mean to you?
So, being a first generation student, if you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have given you a different answer. But as of right now, what I would say is that first generation means that we are, as the name would suggest, we are the first person in our family to go to college and to graduate. This is a substantial feat, not only just for us, but also our families, the people who have got us here, the people who have supported us. So the first generation identity means that we are the trailblazers for our family. We are the trailblazers for our community, whatever community that might be, whether it's the community of Kansas State University, the community of our family, the community of Manhattan, Kansas. We serve as that pinnacle, that spearhead, that way of trying to do better both for us and also the communities that we belong in.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're kind of setting that next standard, in your life, but in sort of like, if you have kids someday or whatever it may be, it's like, here's dad was a college graduate, and so you're not going to have to be a first gen and go through maybe some of those struggles. And I can tell you about what it's like to be, what it's like to go to a university. So,
right.
How has your experience at K-State been as a first gen student?
I'm actually really glad that you asked this because I talk about this quite often. Whenever I go around to different people here at K-State, I would ask them why they came to K-State, and oftentimes the answers would be somewhere in the realm of, oh, my dad went here, my mom went here, my brother or sister went here, my dog went here, my cat went here, etc.
Sure.
Multiple different types of people have gone here. But we as first generation students don't exactly have that luxury of being able to rely on a particular family member. And so my first gen experience, it was a little bit difficult getting started, but I had a lot of support both from back home when they knew I wanted to go to college, as well as my parents who told me that I was going to go to college.
Sure.
In order to be able to, quote unquote, escape from my small hometown so that I don't get stuck there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, what message do you have that you shared some messages already, but what other messages would you have to our first gen students out there? I know we have some that are just starting kind of their journey, and some like you who are kind of now at that end of their university experience. Not that your journey is ended, but I'm saying like as a first gen student, on the pinnacle of graduating, what is kind of a message that you could put out there?
I think just simply put, you matter. You matter more than you know. When I first got here, and in my experience, I thought first gen just meant freshmen. I was wrong, but
Sure.
I didn't also realize how substantial this was to be a first generation student because it just didn't seem like it was as substantial as, for example, taking part in a different underrepresented group like LGBTQIA+, as a person of color, that sort of stuff. It didn't seem that substantial. So my message, beyond even just the fact that you matter, is you can. My message whenever I was wanting to be a president for Tri Alpha was because we can. And the CAN represents the 3 different parts of Tri Alpha. Community, where we try to build a bigger community. ability, not to say that they don't have abilities, but to rather enhance the abilities that we currently have, and as
Sure.
well as give ourselves even new ones
Mm-hmm.
to go off of. And novelty, to give ourselves new things, new opportunities, new people to meet, new opportunities in terms of jobs, new opportunities in terms of scholarships, new opportunities in terms of like registering to vote.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I say because we can.
Well, no, that's a fantastic message, for those students out there. So you've talked about your parents, and when you think about if you were able to kind of give them a message, what would that message be?
Sometimes I know that my parents might feel like that they failed me when, much to the opposite, they are one of the biggest reasons I'm here. My parents always told me I'm going to college because they didn't want me to get stuck here. So my message to them is more of a thank you to
Mm-hmm.
my parents, thanking them for not only their continuing support, I'm not really financial support, but just the emotional support of
Sure.
like how they are proud of what I've done here, and that is already more of a privilege than I care to admit, just because not everyone has that
Mm-hmm.
parental support. So I want to say thank you to them, and that they didn't make a mistake. They didn't have an accident at all just by not going to college or not finishing college. They actually made a really, I don't know how I want to say this, if it's whether or not a good choice or not, but rather it serves as an opportunity to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a positive aspect, not a negative one.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's fantastic. If you had some ideas on how K State could further support our first gen students, what would they be if you have some?
When I first started here, I remember hearing about first gen students through Rebecca, who heads the first generation student
Mm-hmm.
office. I didn't entirely know what it meant to be first gen, and doing this podcast alone is something that more often I feel like is a great way of being able to share our message
Yeah.
with K State and with other first generation students here at K State. As Rebecca said, about 25% of the student body is first generation, and so many people don't know about the first gen office, what we serve them to do, for whatever reason that may be. But recognizing, one, that how much the first generation status actually means, that we are part of this underrepresented group, and that actually gives us opportunities, as well as for K State support, probably more scholarships. I would honestly say. I know this seems very, I don't want to say conceited, but rather a little much, because I know it's often donor based, but even more scholarships could get more people involved, because I know that first generation students are consistently looking for scholarships,
Yeah.
consistently looking for,
It's that financial burden. Yeah.
yeah, looking for ways to stay here at K State.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, an analogy was given in one of our earlier sessions that if you were to take Bill Snyder Stadium and fill it full, and then take 25% of those students away or people away, and like how big of a hole that would be, in that crowd. So it really is a significant population. In closing, anything just in case there's anything I didn't ask or anything that you want to say, first gen wise.
So, besides the messages that I have already shared, is that as a first generation student, we are more powerful than we think we are. We have more ability to do things no matter what we set our mind to. I mean, at one point was working two jobs. I didn't enjoy it. I eventually decided to go to therapy for that. But it was showing how much I could do, how much discipline
Mm-hmm.
that I could have, how much I could give of myself towards either the work that I do, the communities I serve, the basically the work I put onto myself as
Sure.
a person in order to basically self care. And I feel like we are more powerful than we care to admit, and we should recognize that we've been through a lot, for one, and two, that we have this perseverance that is unmatched
Yeah.
by what I feel like is a good portion of the student body.
Sure. Yeah, I think that we sometimes sometimes in life it's hard, and sometimes when you're in the thick of that, it's hard to see the end of it, or it's hard to see, that someday you're going to look back on this and it's actually going to build you as a person. And like you said, working two jobs, I can remember that, I was same thing, first gen, went back to school after military service. And I can remember that too, like getting up early and going to one job and then going to school and then going to a job in the evening. And just at the time, you're just in it though, and you're just so involved in it, you don't realize like how much you were really just pulling yourself in multiple directions. So there's no way I could do it now. I couldn't work like I was then. I'm getting too old for that. So, well, I sure appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, you're a busy person, and I think that your comments and are very beneficial to the mission for the First Gen group and the First Gen office. So, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.